Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this webinar. My name is Martin Damon. I'm the lead technical specialist at Truck Science. Today, we'll cover the basics of using our axle weight calculator to configure safe, legal, and efficient vehicles. I'm joined by Tony Hodges from Laws of Motion. Tony is our agent for Australia and New Zealand and will run with a live demo for today's webinar. Okay, so many of you already know Tony from his work as an approved vehicle examiner. He brings a wealth of hands-on experience in vehicle configuration. Okay, so in this webinar, we will demonstrate how to configure a vehicle with a body, some equipment, and a trailer. We'll demonstrate how the software calculates axle masses and maximum payload whilst remaining within national and state regulations. And then we are aware of the reforms to the heavy vehicle national law, and we are in the process of adding a beta version of the new national regulations. The changes on our side will include the alignment of the general mass limits with the concessional mass limits, and also the maximum overall length of semi-trailer combinations will increase from 19 to 20 meters. So these amendments are currently scheduled to commence on 1 August, and we'll keep you up to date on what's happening on our side in that regard. And then after the live demo, Tony will share the details of our end of financial year 3 for 2 promotion. So then for the live demo, Tony will start with a Fuso Fighter 2427 and configure it with an insulated box body and fridge unit to calculate the maximum legal payload. He'll also highlight some of the differences between national and state regulations in terms of maximum axle limits. He'll then add a dog trailer to demonstrate the combination carrying capability. Then for the second case study, Tony will swap the vehicle to the Isuzu FEL 26300, and here he will highlight the benefits of a complying steer axle and the recently updated higher mass on the front axle for vehicles that comply with ADR 8004 and have a tire width of at least 315 millimeters on the front axle. So I'll hand over to Tony now for the live demo. So Tony, over to you. And then just a reminder, you are welcome to use the Q&A feature on that toolbar, and either Tony or I will be monitoring the questions and either answering those live or in the Q&A section. Okay, thanks, Tony. That all looks good there. You can take over.
Right. Hi, everyone. If you haven't seen Truck Science in action before, this is a screen that you open up with. So when you first log in, you'll see this. Every vehicle that you see on this screen is an Australian delivered model, so you can't get it confused with any New Zealand models or anything else that's international. So what we'll do is we'll run through the process of how to select a vehicle. As Martin said, we'll start with the Fuso 2427. So there's a couple of ways that you can do it. The first way you can do is you can click on the logos. So I can click on Fuso, I click on Fighter, 6x2, and you can see the models there. You can also use the ordering code. So if you've got the code from your spec sheet or wherever it is, you might have that code. The other way you can do it, if you know the model that you're after, you can also just type in up the top the model that you're after, and it will come up on the screen. So you don't always have to go through the menu options and the logos. So for this one here, we'll pick the 6530 wheelbase Fighter. So I'll click on that one there. Right, so you see the different wheelbases that we've got a visual representation of the suspension. So this one here is airbag. If it was steel, we actually show that as well. So you can see straight away what the suspension type is. Now, in Victoria, we get a road-friendly exemption or road-friendly suspension exemption. So the rear axle grip between 2 and 3 on this one here is 17 tonne. We'll go through a little bit further how that exemption works and when it is applicable and when it's not. Here we have a dashboard. So this dashboard here has manufacturer's limits. So obviously the axle capacity limits, or anything to do with the manufacturer of the truck. Then we've got the regulatory limits. So if the rear axle grip was good for 18 tonne, but regulatory is only good for 16 and a half or 17, then you'll see manufacturer will have a tick, but regulatory will have a cross. So these tick boxes and red crosses that happen here are representations of everything in the drawing. So you don't have to look around in the drawing to find them. You see these green ticks, everything in the drawing is okay. Now we built the truck up on this left-hand menu here, the same as you would in real life. So this one here, you grab the chassis. So we started with that. The next one, we'll grab a body. The next one down, we'll add accessories, tailgates, tow bars, fridges, etc. And down in this next one here, we can modify the payload. So we can use a water level load or a simplified load, as we call it. Or you can have a detailed payload. So you have pallets. You can put anything on there, basically. If you've got beaver tail bodies, you can have bobcats, excavators, and that all happens down there. So we'll start working from the top down. So we've selected the chassis. The next one down, we'll grab the body. So I click on vehicle body. We'll grab a van in this case, so a box van. We'll go in here and grab box van template. Now you'll see it's matched the body size for the particular truck. So I'll change just a couple of things on there. I'll just push the body back here. I'll just go 985 mil to increase the cab gap a little bit. You can actually drag it with the mouse as well. So anything that's in blue on the screen, you can click on directly. So I'll click on the body length there. So 8840 for that. I'll just change the 100. You can use the plus or minus buttons, or otherwise you can just type the number in directly. Okay, so in here we have the body weight is already set for a normal van body, so color bond or something, pro bond, something along those lines. If you click on the body, you bring up all these specifications of it, so lengths, heights, width, etc. So you can change it, put 150 mm headboard in, and etc. Now what we do have is these little buttons here with the book. So if you look in the mass section, you'll see we've got 280 kilos a meter, and you can also type in the kilograms of the body itself. So all different body types have different weights. So if we click on the little book icon, what it does is give you recommendations for that particular body type. So if this was a curtain sider, it would say aluminium, steel, heavy duty, standard. Because it's a van, it gives us these different weights to go with different bodies. If it was a beaver tail, it wouldn't give you things like a chiller. So for this one, we'll just go fiberglass chiller. It changes the weight there. Now you'll see the body weight has gone up for the increased weight, and then the payload has come down. So what we'll do is we'll work our way down. We've got the body. Next thing we'll do is we'll add an accessory on it. So go in there, add equipment, grab a fridge. So you can go down and you can type in any number. You can select it by make, or in this case here, we already know the fridge that we want to grab. We'll grab a Carrier Super. It will put it on the front where it should be. And this is the truck that we'll basically start with. So the way this table works, we've got ticks inside our dashboard. So that tells us that the basic configuration of the truck is okay. We're under 60% overhang, we're under 3.7 meters, we're under 4.3 meters high, and the basic truck is okay. In this massive summary, we have a summary of the different items, so what the body weighs, what the fridge weighs, or any other accessory that we have. So we've got the total unladen weight, which is the tear weight of the truck. And then what we have is what the truck is capable of carrying. So in this case here, we've got 23 tonne because I've got it set to the Victorian regulations, which come in at 17 tonne. If we were to change that, what you'll see here is we've got regulatory compliance. We've got Victoria there. What you can do in the regulatory compliance is you can select national and other states, so national Victoria, just national. So if you have a vehicle that was leaving Victoria going to Queensland, you can select Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland. And what it will do is it will build that vehicle to the lowest common denominator for all three states, so it can transverse all three and be legal between them all. So here we've just got Victoria set for the minute, and there's a reason why we've got that, because I'll show you how that exemption works and doesn't, and where it does and doesn't apply. The other part we have in the table along this line, we've got permissible. So in this particular truck, we've got 6 tonne on the front axle, and we've got 17 tonne on the rear axle, 23 total. It's telling us right now that the vehicle has been underutilised by approximately 4 tonne, and it's been utilised at 82%. The blue here, that tells us that the vehicle is capped out at roughly 8,600 kilos of payload because the front axle has hit its limit. So in this particular case here, if we added maybe a tailgate, would take a bit more weight off the front, or it's a wheelbase change, or something along those lines. But right now, the front axle on this particular truck for this body length and this wheelbase, that's what's holding us back, is this line here in blue. If we were to go over a limit and we type a payload number in, so let's say, for example, we wanted to do 10 tonne, what you'll see is it's done the 10 tonne as a complete vehicle. We're under the GBM, but as far as the axle limits are, we're 231 kilos over. So I'll untick that box there and go back to the Truck Science calculated payload. Now, it's not a very commonly known part of the road-friendly exemption, but once you add a trailer behind that truck, you actually lose the exemption. So what we'll do is we'll go over to our accessories where we added the fridge. We'll go over to the vehicle equipment. I'll add a tow bar under the truck. I'll just use a nice Bartlett tow bar there, BT 1400A. You'll see that it goes in the right position where it should, at the back of the chassis. Now, having the tow bar alone, you still maintain that exemption. So you'll see we're still at 17 tonne. Once I add a trailer on, if you're watching that rear column, you'll actually strip the road-friendly exemption, and then it will drop it down to 16.5. So that's actually by design, because that's how the regulations are worded. And so if I go in here into the dog trailer, click in a dog trailer there, we'll grab our one that we've already built up. So in the trailer section, you'll see we've got trailer 1 and trailer 2. When you're working on trailer 2, trailer 1 collapses. When you're working on trailer 1, it opens up. So the boxes to build a trailer up, the way that I built that trailer, is exactly the same as you build the truck. So you start with the trailer, add the body, add your accessories, fridge, tailgate, etc., and then the payload. So to speed it up, we've already had that one saved, but it's exactly the same process as the truck. So now that we have the trailer on the truck, we're under Victorian rules, it now says, well, the regulations say that when a trailer's on, you lose that road-friendly exemption. So now the rear axle grip goes down to 16.5 tonne. So this goes the same for 4x2, where we normally get 10 tonne on a road-friendly suspension rear axle. Then it strips it back to 9. If you're in national rules, it leaves the rules as it is. Now, as Martin mentioned before, with the heavy vehicle national law, with CML becoming the new GML, when that becomes a part of the regulation, so it hasn't been signed off yet, but once it is, then those rules there will come in. If Victoria still has that stripping of the rules, that will be in there. But if that's taken out, which I would dare say it will be, we just need to wait to see where the regulations are at, then those regulations will update the minute that comes in. So being based in the cloud, the minute that comes in, then you don't need to update the software. You don't need to do anything besides just log in. And then the regulations are in force that day. That's when they become available to you in the software. So in here, we've got our 16.5, we've got 32 tonne and 14 tonne we have as a payload for the combination. So what I'll do is I'll remove this trailer. You'll see we're under our 19 meters. We've got tick boxes. Everything's okay in the world. So I'll click on here. I'll remove the trailer. So what we have with the truck is if I want to build up another truck, so as Martin said before, we will put an Isuzu on this. We'll use an FEL, so equivalent 6x2 model. Rather than going back to the menu and starting the process again, we have this sort of swap vehicle button up here. So when you click on this button, what it does, it leaves the tow bar, the body, the fridge, and it pulls the chassis out from under it and puts a new one under. So I click on swap vehicle, I'll put in there FEL. So we've got a couple of different models. We've got the Euro 5 model here, it's got the spec date, and then we've also got the Euro 6 model. So you see here by the 9th month 25. So I'll select this model here. And what it will do is we'll pull the fuso out and it will slide the Isuzu underneath it. So what it come up and says, do you want to change the name of this? Basically you say what you'll be, your save calculation. If you want to change the name, so we'll hit yes. And now we'll see that we've got the Isuzu under there. Body remains the same. Tow bar stays in the right position. Now you'll see on this particular one that the chassis is a little bit longer on the Isuzu. So we can either click on the rear overhang here and change it, or you can click on the body, and on the body length bit you go align chassis to rear of body, and that will actually trim the chassis back to match the body. So on this particular truck now, we've actually got a payload difference that happened. So we were approximately in the 10 tons on the fuso, but because this truck here has actually got 315 tyres on it, and it's a Euro 6, it actually meets the ruling for the 7-ton front axle. So we had 6 on the fuso. It goes through all the different items of the truck. So if I click on that front wheel, you'll see in here in the tyres, it's actually got it listed as 315 tyres. So on the fuso, I had 275 tyres. So it's not just a one rule fits everything. Each particular truck has its own particular items that says it does and doesn't meet particular rules. So in this case here, we'll see that the truck itself has got 7 ton on the front. The front axle has cut out as well. We've got the rear axle here has come in at 17 ton. And it's about 890 kilos light. So the whole vehicle right now is 96% utilisation of the vehicle. So not a very common thing that happens, but you can put a tailgate on when you've got the tow bar there. So I'll just go on my vehicle equipment, click on our plus section there. I'll go on the tail lift. Just go and grab an anti-O cantilever. So I'll pop that on the back there. We can just grab the tow bar, move it around if we need to. So you'll see with the weights of what's on there now, at 99.5% utilisation, this truck is now pretty much as best as you're going to get for that particular size. So the extra weight of the tailgate down the back, you'll see it comes under the additional equipment there, that it's actually taken some weight off the front axle to add down the back. So I'll remove the tailgate off there. So you click on your little scissors icon there to remove it. And then what I'll do is I'll go through, I'll add the trailer back onto this particular truck. So go in there, trailer, dog trailer, and you can select the configuration that you'd like to select there. So we've already got this one here made up. So pop the trailer on, we can see that we're under 19 metres, which when the new rule comes in, if the vehicle meets all the different requirements of it, then 20 metres will become the new rule. If it's with semis, if it covers dogs, then it will cover that as well. So it doesn't just look, the software doesn't just look at that's a trailer behind a truck. It looks at what particular type of trailer, what particular bodies, etc. are on there. So what I'll do in this case here is I'll just change a quick number on this to make it go over. So I'll change the body length there to 6 metres. I'll push it out a little bit. You'll see this here has actually pushed us over 19 metres. So it's come up with a red section there. The manufacturer's limits are okay because the trailer is still compliant, the truck's still compliant from a manufacturer's level. but regulatory compliance is an issue. So to see what that one cross there is, you can click on regulatory compliance. If it's got other states listed, it will list them there. You can click on the regulations in force, and you'll see all our masses are okay, actual spacing is okay, turning circles okay. It's just we've got a problem with dimensions. So in the PDF, when you print the PDF out, then you'll see that it will actually list in the last page what the problems are. So if I click on this button here to view the PDF report, click up there, what you'll see in this grey section of the screen, this is the PDF that will print out, that you can either save it as a PDF or print it out on your printer. Now you can select what views you do and don't want to view. If you want a detailed view with all the dimensions, if you want something simplified without dimensions, you can select them on the left-hand side here with your views option. We also have the top view. So if you want to do pallets from a top view, you can see that while you're actually calculating the vehicle. We've got center of gravity view, turning circle, and down in the very last pages, we've got notes here, what particular vehicles or what particular regulation is being enforced. We'll say rear overhang has been reduced. And you've also got your warnings. So anything in notes is just for information. But then in the warnings, it actually says a defined bit to say we've actually gone over the rules. We're 465 mil over the 19 meter maximum.
Tony, if I can maybe just interrupt you at this point, and maybe we can answer two questions if that's okay.
Yep.
Okay, so we've had one question about, maybe we can start with that. Can we see the truck GVM in this view? So assuming that was when you had the trailer on, so maybe if you just drill down on the permissible there in the total column, that 32,000 kilograms, if you drill down on that, so there, then it'll open up the menu and you'll see the rated gross vehicle mass at the top there, which is 26 tons. But I'm wondering if the question may also be referring to what is the actual gross vehicle mass on the vehicle at the time. Because obviously when you have the trailer on there, you'll see we're showing the total. Okay, we're showing the total for the vehicle there in the first row, which is 10,937, and the trailer, which is just under 5 tons. So maybe if you can just point that out as well there, Tony, the actual gross vehicle mass. You can probably close that menu and then go back to the weights table there. So the first row there, the unladen vehicle, you'll see is 10,900. But now you may want to know what is the actual laden vehicle. And that's not easily visible now in that mass table because it's very much focused on the combination. And for that, we have the favorite measurements on the dashboard. And you'll see there's one favorite measurement there called gross mass on vehicle front as a percentage. And maybe, Tony, if you go to settings, I'll show you how we can add the gross mass on a vehicle. So if you go to favorite measurements and you click on that drop down and just search on gross, you can just type in gross and then scroll down. You'll see there's gross mass on trailer 1, 2, and then vehicle, gross mass on vehicle. One up from there, yeah. You can just click that and click OK, and you'll see it'll add the gross mass on the vehicle to the dashboard, which is now just over 20 tons. So I'm hoping that that answers the question. Just to demonstrate how you can add certain sort of weights and dimensions by using favorite measurements from settings. And then we had another question about can we add a forklift and accessories like a rear-mounted forklift such as a Moffat or Manito truck-mounted forklift, and you can just go to equipment there, other equipment on either the trailer or the vehicle, maybe the vehicle, yeah. And you can just demonstrate if you go to other equipment and you can just search on, for example, Moffat, and you'll find the Moffat forklifts there. You could even throw one on there just to demonstrate that. And you can reposition that, drag it to the back wherever you need it to be. So I hope that answers those two questions. I see there's one more question that's just, that was just a reply there. to thank us for answering those questions. That's fine. So, Tony, I think that's good for the questions for now. If there are more questions, feel free to post those there, and we'll do our best to still get to those. So, Tony, if you can carry on with anything else that you still want to demonstrate there.
Yep. So what you'll notice that when the question come up about the vehicle masses, in your weights and summaries section here, when the trailer's on, you can select vehicle, and that changes this whole mass summary back to just the vehicle without the trailer. When we've got the trailer on, it gives a summary of all of it. Then we've also got the center of gravity view. So if you want to see individual items on the vehicle, you can look in there as a summary, and it'll say, the fuel, where's the fuel position from the front axle. We use that as a datum, the payload, the body, the tow bar, etc. The other bit we've got in here is we have a top view. So we've got normal side view, but then we have a top view. So if you do have pallets, for example, so we started off before with a simple payload. You can go into your payload section. You can go to detailed payload, and we'll just use a pallet, for example. So I'll just use a pallet of milk that we've already got here. So what you'll see is from the top view, you'll see one pallet. So we've got blocks of pallets, 12, 14, 10, or you can actually add multiple pallets by hitting this little copy button. And then you can move those around the vehicle. You can just drag them around, or you can actually position them by typing in the number. We go back to our slide view, and then you'll see these pallets are in position here. So you can have bobcats, motorbikes, we've got boats, a whole range of different items that we've got there. So we've got the Moffats and the Manitous can go at the rear as a piece of equipment, and you can also add stuff in as a payload. The difference is that when you do it as a piece of equipment, it goes into the unladen weight of the truck as if it was a permanent part of the truck. And then you've also got the payload item, which if you have the forklift in the back, it will get treated as if it's removable. The other option that we've got, if I go back into the view with all our dimensions, is we've got this button here. Right now, we've got a detailed measurements in there. If you click on the simplified view, it strips away a lot of the measurements. So the calculations and the measurements are still there, but when you print it out, it actually does a less cluttered and simplified view, which is what we see here. So if you want to go back to it, click on there, click on detailed, and it goes back to the detailed view. The other item that we have down here is the warnings triangle. This notes and warnings is actually a replication of the last page of the PDF. So we've got no warnings in this drawing now because we're within all the measurements. But you'll see in here that we've got just some notes in there. So if it was a 50mm ball coupling that we had, the reduction that you get under VSG 14. We've got in here about the rear overhang had been changed. Vehicle rear overhang has been changed. So if you go through that list, tick it off, go, okay, I started the truck 2 weeks ago, but now we've got the truck, we're ready to get a quote on it. You go through that notes section, it will tell you if anything's been changed, wheelbases, rear overhangs, etc. So have we got any more questions there, have we, Martin?
Yeah, Tony, maybe I was busy typing it out, but I can maybe also just explain it. So there was a good comment there about the forklifts. So when you add other equipment, there's no sort of categorization of the other equipment. So there's no section for forklifts and fuel tanks and any sort of specific other equipment that doesn't fall into the other categories. So yeah, if you just go back to other, if you just click into other, so we've got obviously specific categories, but forklift, it might be a bit tricky to find forklift here. Or if you go to make, you'll find, if you search for, let's try Manito, there's Manito, maybe that would help. And then there's Moffat. So you can search on the make. That would definitely make it easier. But I hear you that you can't search on, say, all forklifts. And this is good feedback, and we'll take that back to the developers to see if we can add more filtering options here to make it easier for you to find the equipment that you're looking for. Ideally, we could even have another category just for forklifts. So that's the kind of thing that we do based on the feedback that we get from our users. So thank you for that. Then I will also just see there's another question here. When we add less. Okay, so changing the wheelbase. So that's another good point there. So the question that relates to change to the chassis mass when changing the wheelbase. So we do not automatically recalculate the chassis mass when changing the wheelbase. And maybe Tony, if you just do a slight adjustment to the wheelbase there, you'll notice that it'll pop up with a little tip there. You can just change that by 100 or millimeters or so, and that's fine. Okay, we can't in this case make it longer, maybe make it shorter. Okay, so when you change the wheelbase, you will need to adjust the chassis mass manually, and I'll show you how to do that. Or Tony, if you can just click on the front or the rear axle and then highlight where to change the chassis mass. So that feature of automatically changing the chassis mass is something that we've also documented. It is just a little bit tricky for us to get the exact spec from the manufacturers in terms of what is the mass per running meter of chassis length that we can either cut out or add in when doing these adjustments. But that is definitely something that we are aware of. So for now, please remember to make that adjustment manually if you change the wheelbase. Okay, then let me just see if there are any other questions here. Okay, I think that's it for now, Tony. Is there still something else that you need to demonstrate?
No, man, I think that shows pretty much the whole suite of the features that we've got there.
Okay, perfect. So, well then, I suppose you can remove the sharing and then just hand it back to me, and we'll wrap it up with slides. So let me just go back here. Okay, so I know that Tony covered quite a lot in a short time there. So if you'd like a personalized demo for yourself or colleagues who weren't able to attend today, we are more than happy to do that. You can book a demo at the bottom of our homepage for a time that suits you. And then if you'd like to find out more about truck science, you'll find lots of videos and testimonials on our website at truckscience.com. Also, we will have a stand again at the Brisbane Truck Show next year, so hopefully we'll see you there. Then, if you're not already using our app, please help yourself to a free trial from the homepage of our website. You can also go to the pricing page to learn more about the different editions we offer. The professional edition starts at 850 Australian dollars per year for one user. And then if you're from New Zealand, the professional edition starts at 900 New Zealand dollars per year. We are offering an end of financial year promotion until the end of June. Tony, if you can run us through this deal now.
Yep, thanks, Martin. So in the financial year deal, we've got a 3 for 2 subscription. So it's an annual subscription. So normally additional users are $550 for additional users. So $850 for the first user, $550 for additional users. So if you go with the professional edition on annual subscriptions, then what you'll do is you'll get basically 3 users for the price of 2 for the first year.
Okay, thanks for that, Tony. I'm just checking for more questions here. Okay, so if we don't, what is the thing? Yeah, okay, so Tony's answered that. There's another, if there are any questions that we haven't answered yet, we'll come back to you on that. And maybe this one you can help me out with, Tony. So there's a question with the addition of rear-mounted forklifts. I believe there is a longer overhang used. If you can maybe just explain that.
Yeah, we do. There is an exemption where you can go to 4 meters on it. Um, to be honest, I need to actually have a look to see if we've got that there. When items go on, so for example, a fridge, and you've got semi trailers, it knows that a fridge goes on. With a forklift in the other section, I need to have a chat to Martin about this and then have a look at categories. So what it does when the particular item goes on, it says that's a forklift. But right now, I'll say a forklift and a tank in the other section. I'm not sure, Martin, if we'll actually be able to define it or it needs to go in another category to then invoke that particular regulation exemption. So rather than going 3.7, we get up to 4 meters.
Yeah, it's a very valid question there because we currently do not identify the difference between any other equipment item and a forklift. So we would need to have that specific category for forklifts so that we can treat them as such and apply that 4 meter exemption. So that is also something we'll take away from the session. So thank you for that feedback. Yeah.
So just a little bit further to that, when things like these improvements come in, when the software gets updated, if any feature updates come in or any new models get added, what happens? You'll see a little blue box pops up in the left-hand side of the screen. They'll say there's an update. Update goes in, so that's all part of your subscription. There's no additional cost or charges to go with it. If there's particular items of equipment that you want us to add, there's a button there that actually says, ask us to add it for free. If you're a bodybuilder or someone with an engineering workshop or the like, you can actually add your own DXFs into, so you can add your own bodies, you can add your own doors, gates, toolboxes, etc. You're in control of that. Or if it's an item like a forklift, you click on the button, ask us to add it. You type in Moffat M2, send a link to a spec sheet, and then what we'll do is we'll add it. Once that's added, you'll get an email back to say that it's added and it's on the menu. So there's no additional things that you need to do to update the software. Once it's in there and once the regulations are added, or once, for example, Martin, if we go forward with adding that feature about a separate category for forklifts, that will just become part of the software. You don't have to do anything besides click on a button to say update, and then it will show you what's been added to the software from the last time that you used it. It'll give you a little walkthrough, maybe a 1 or 2 minute brief little video of what's been added and the features that are in there.
Yeah, thanks. That explanation about the DXF import probably relates to the next question here. So in the other function, is a high rail conversion kit in that section? Off the top of my head, I would almost say no, we probably don't have a high rail kit in there. But like Tony mentioned, you can either use the DXF import feature to add your own, or you could request that we add a specific high rail accessory item from a manufacturer, and we'll do our best to get in touch with that manufacturer to find out if they'd be willing to share the technical information so that we can make it available in the public library. Now, some manufacturers of specialized equipment may not want their products added to the public library, in which case we can work with you, or you can use a other equipment template to at the very least demonstrate the mass that gets added for that high rail conversion kit. Okay, is there anything else about that, Tony, that you can add for the high rail? Okay.
Yep.
Then another question here is, when will battery trucks come available? So we already have some battery trucks in the library. Maybe if you can, the person who asked that question, if you can let us know which battery truck specifically you're looking for. I do know we have quite a lot of Volvo battery electric vehicles in there already. And we've added those on request. And so we can definitely get in touch with the manufacturer if you can let us know which specific truck you're looking for, if you can't find it in the library. When it comes to battery electric, they also qualify for some of those exemptions or higher mass limits. For example, the extra 500 kilograms on the front axle, which applies to the ADR 8004, also applies to your zero emission vehicles like battery electric. So as long as obviously you've got the correct or the 315 tire width on the front axle. So yes, definitely we can cater for battery electric vehicles. The difference there is obviously also in the chassis weight. So we build the battery weight will typically be included in the chassis weight. So there will be no additional weight for fuel. That just will show the battery capacity in kilowatt hours, but the battery weight will need to be included in the chassis mass from the manufacturer. And again, it can sometimes be, or that information for the chassis weights may not be in the public domain, uh, because there's still some sensitive information when it comes to battery electric vehicles. But I'm pretty sure that for the Volvos, we do have them with chassis weights. Then there's another question here. Can we add arrow boards to the accessory list? Thanks for that. We can take that away. Uh, and if you can, again, get in touch with us with maybe specific versions of that, we can definitely help you add that to the library. Then there's a question about another battery electric. That's the Sany 508 kilowatt hour prime movers. Yeah, and again, there we would need to get in touch with the manufacturer to see if they're willing to share that information to put it in the public library. In some cases, the manufacturers may want to contact you directly and do the calculations with you if the information is not yet ready for the public domain. But we'll definitely get back to all these questions that maybe require a little bit of follow-up and get in touch with you directly on those. Okay, I
Just
think
on,
we are,
just on
yeah,
the arrow board, we've got Pajero hydro tarps in there. So you can be in the collapsed position or the raised position. So it'd be a similar scenario with the arrow boards. We've already got tarps in there. We've got trailers with the boards on them. So adding a collapsed version and a raised version, it'd just be two different items off the menu that you select, but it's no issue to actually add them in. It's not the same.
yeah. Okay, so then again, the last question here is, do we have any EV prime movers in the chassis library, and would it be possible to do a demo with an EV prime mover? Okay, so we've got about only 2 minutes left for the session now. So that is something that we can take away for either a personalized demo, uh, or we can include something like that maybe in our next webinar and focus more on EVs. And obviously that's becoming very relevant now. So thank you for that again. And yeah, okay, so there's some feedback there about providing specs for vehicles that are not in the library. Thank you for that as well. Okay, so Tony, I think that's probably it. I'm not sure if we have any more questions. I'm just quickly having a look there. Yeah, we can, if you can provide us with specs of vehicles, that's great. We can add those to the public library. And yeah, I'll just go to our last slide now. Yeah, so thanks again, Tony, for that live demo. It's always great to have somebody with local knowledge and experience present the live demo and give actual case studies of what's relevant to your market there. I will end the session in just a moment, but before you go, please rate the webinar and leave any comments or questions that you have for us. So thank you for joining us, and goodbye, everyone.